You've probably heard a lot of people say why they enjoy living in Ohio and the good things about Ohio and what's there to do here and what kind of jobs are here and all that sort of good stuff in general. Well, in this video, I'm going to actually talk about all the things that I think are a problem in Ohio, like things that I don't like about Ohio, things that are not the greatest. Now, I'm not going to just rag on the state in general and just be, negative. It's not what this video is all about. But essentially, I'm going to be real with you and explain to you what things you need to look out for, what are not necessarily the greatest things about Ohio, but maybe different alternatives that you can do that, you wouldn't necessarily think of. So stay tuned and we'll cover all that in this video. Hey, what's up everybody? This is Justin Robleski with High Point Real Estate Group. If this is your first time to my channel, take a quick moment and click on that subscribe button and tap on the little bell to get notified of every new video that I post for you to see. If you want to learn about eating, sleeping, playing, working, doing anything imaginable in Ohio, I'm going to be your guy. You can text message me, call me, email me, Facebook me, LinkedIn, whatever works for you. I'm available days, nights, weekends. I'm here for any of your real estate needs. But in this video, just like we had mentioned, we're going to talk about what's not necessarily the great things about Ohio, but what's the bad sides about Ohio? What is not the most enticing things to how would I say it? The things that aren't the most enticing, that are most exciting about Ohio. And like I mentioned before, this is not a nagging, rip-on, pessimistic view of Ohio. It's just being realistic so you guys can understand all the great things, but things you might want to look out for as well. So first thing in Ohio that I want to talk about is the weather. So especially if you're coming from down south more, up here in the Northeast Ohio area, it's going to be interesting because last week we had 2 days of school called off for my kid at school. So we had a 4-day weekend because we got over a foot of snow. You go outside of my house right now because there's some plow trucks. There's literally, gosh, the snow hill we were climbing on the other day is probably 5 to 7 feet tall of just piled up snow. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't hate snow. I actually like snow, but I hate driving in it. I hate dealing with all the ice and the crazy people that just don't drive necessarily appropriately in the snow and just kind of all the hazards involved with it. But snow itself is cool. Now, here's the problem with that snow. It also obviously comes with cold weather. So, we had 10-degree weather and all that good stuff because snow obviously doesn't come down when it's 70 degrees out. But it's part of living in Ohio. A lot of people think, hey, a little snow here and there is not a big deal. And for the most part, it's not. Usually we'll get a few inches, they clear the roads, we call it a day. But there are going to be times where we have those big storms to where it drops a foot on us. I mean, I've been here to where it's dropped 2 feet on us. I've lived here to where, lucky for me, we were actually in Aruba during this time frame. But it was literally, well, most of the time frame, but it literally got to like negative 10 degrees out, not counting wind chills. I mean, we were like in the negative 20s and negative 30s once you factor in wind chills. So you got to be prepared for all of that. Now, in reverse of that, or not reverse, on the other side of that, but when you don't have the snow and ice and stuff, you got the springtime, which is nice. You get in the 50s and 60s during springtime. During the summer, you're going to be in your 70s, 80s, sometimes 90s and 100s, depending on what year it is. And then the fall is actually not too bad. It's really mainly just the winter. So alongside with the whole winter and the snow and ice and everything, you need to realize another thing that's maybe not the greatest about Ohio is the traffic in the roadways. So here's the deal. At any given time, it feels like there is some sort of construction project being done on the expressway. And sometimes these projects last, a couple months, which is pretty rare to be honest with you. And other times these projects last 3, 4, I saw one just get done recently in the area that lasted for almost 5 years. Not really sure what on earth was going on and why it took that long, but just be prepared when you're living in this area. Ohio can be very kind of a pain in the butt to drive in on the expressways because of all the construction going on. Now, just like I mentioned, we're not going to sit here and rag on the stakes. There's a lot of great things about it, but let me tell you the other side of the construction. because that all happens, I have a lot of family that lives up in Michigan, ironically, and their roadways are absolutely horrible. Like, there's some roadways where potholes are so big that you can actually see the metal rebar underneath the concrete. So in Ohio, you don't get that a lot. Like, a lot of family, when they visit Ohio and come to see us, they literally say you can tell the difference between driving from Michigan to driving into Ohio. The roads are instantly smoother. Like, there's no major bumps, there's no potholes, they're kept up pretty well. Now, don't get me wrong, there are parts of Ohio that the roadways are not the best, but in general, with all that construction that we see and all the road work we're doing, it kind of comes included with the benefit that we have nice roadways for the most part. You know, we get to enjoy them. So that is a plus to it. Another thing about Ohio that you probably want to know about is, how do people act? How do people treat each other in Ohio? So here is what I have learned over the years. I hate to admit this, but in general, there's a lot of rude people. There can be a lot of rude people around in public. And I'm not saying any individual people, it's not certain types of people or anything like that, but, and I don't even know if this happens more in different parts of the country as well, but now, like, you know, the courtesy of opening a door for someone, it's shocking how many people aren't even polite and don't even open the door. Or, you know, if you're in a grocery store, like, you know, someone bumps into your cart, it's very rare that someone even says, hey, you know, my bad, I apologize, you know, sorry, or anything like that. It's literally like people just have this entitlement to them all of a sudden that they don't necessarily think they have to be nice to others, which I don't get. My attitude is always just be genuinely nice to other people. The way I look at it, I always think about the saying in the top of my head is, be overly nice to others because you don't know what is going on in everybody else's life. Something might look perfect in their life. You might have a chip on your shoulder one day. And, you know, how do you know someone close to them didn't just die recently, or, you know, they just totaled their car or something like that? So I always just have the attitude that you want to be as nice to people as possible, and hopefully you make their day a better day. But when it comes to, like, the rudeness thing, it happens in driving as well. Like, in driving, you'll have a lot of people that cut you off, and, you know, or like the other day, I was absolutely floored that someone did this. Like, you know, I was on the expressway, I'm getting over, and I give plenty of notice to get over into the next lane because I see construction coming up. So I'm not the guy that wants to wait till the last minute and try and cut in front of you. I want to kind of get over, you know, before it becomes an issue so we can keep running smoothly. Well, literally, when I put on my blinker to get over, there was a car that was probably in the lane, and it was the right lane. They were probably a car length or two behind me. I go to get over it. That car literally sped up to make sure I didn't get in front of them. It's like, dude, you are not going to get to where you're going any faster just because there's one extra car ahead of you. And it's just, it baffled me that someone would take the time to speed up to purposely not be nice. I just don't get it. I'm not that type of person. So maybe I just need to understand why those people think the way they do differently. But it was very shocking to me. Now, when I say about this, like, you have rude people and stuff, and you're dealing with, like, people are not courteous, or, like, you know, like, what drives me nuts, I don't know if you guys know, but if I let someone in, it's just, I always kind of grew up this way. Like, if you let someone in, you're sitting in a traffic light, and you let them in out of a parking lot, and instead of you going when light turns green, you just kind of give them the wave, say, hey, thank you, I appreciate it. It's just what I do, and I kind of expect it. So I almost get irritated when people don't do it, because it just shows a sign of appreciation. I appreciate you letting me out. Thank you very much. And it's just shocking how many people don't do it for me. But I'm usually the guy that does let people in, so I don't know. Well, we're not even going to go down there. But when we're talking about, like, these people that have, like, an attitude and are not the most polite and friendly and things like that, even though I see that happen a lot, I honestly think that still is a major minority. So I think that's probably 15% of people that you encounter, and that may happen in any state. Who knows? I mean, obviously I live here, so I'm not in any state at all times, but other states I found to be a lot more pleasant. Maybe I just don't pay attention that much because I live here. But I would still say 85% plus of people are genuinely nice people and friendly, but just be aware, you're going to get those jerks that just have a chip on their shoulder and have an attitude, and they feel like someone wronged them and someone owes them something. So just a heads up to that. The next thing I want to talk about is depending on where you live. So, the house prices have gone up quite a bit recently over the years, and just in most markets, the real estate market has kind of exploded. So house prices are starting to get more expensive. Well, obviously that happens. Well, if you're living in an area to where you want to be near everything and you want to live in a nice area, the average house price probably 2 years ago was, I don't know, $285,000 to $300,000. Now you're probably in the $350,000 to $375,000 range, and that's literally just over the past couple of years. So be prepared that you're probably going to spend more for a house than you did before. And a lot of people say, hey, well, the market's going to crash like it did in 2008 and everything will be dirt cheap. There's a big difference of what's going on now and what happened in 2008. In 2008, not to get off like a little tangent here, but in 2008, there was a mortgage crisis because of shady lending practices, essentially, that anybody and their brother was given a loan they probably shouldn't have been given and they really couldn't afford, and banks were just hand over fist allowing money to go flow out. That's not the case. That's not happening again. So they're being more cautious than what happened 15 years ago, because we don't want to go through that same era that we went through. And keep in mind that crisis that happened in 2008, that was leading up to that for like 30 years. So that didn't just happen overnight. That took a lot of time to happen. But also about living places. There's a lot of parts in Ohio where a lot of people think Ohio is all farmland. Now, you're partially correct. There are areas to where it will seem like it's just farmland or just open fields and all sorts of crops are growing here. But there's many, many, many areas in Ohio. You got your Columbus area, you got Cleveland area, which is more my area. You got the Akron area, Canton area, which is really where I do a lot of business in the Akron, Canton area. Those areas all have major subdivisions you can move into. They're more, urbanized, to where you're going to live in more of a city. You're going to have a lot of neighbors and things like that. But in general, you'll find out that you can live in kind of any sort of community you want. So if you want that, your neighbor isn't close to you for 2 miles type, living, awesome. There's plenty of that to go around. If you want to live in a subdivision, you want to live right in the city, there are so many different places you can live, neighborhoods, downtown cities, things like that. So there's a smorgasbord of everything you can imagine. So there's no shortage of it. Oh, and just so you guys know, if my videos help you out, there's really giving you some information you didn't know about, and it's just kind of helping you understand, do me a quick favor. Right down in the comment section, just type in the word yes. It really helps out my channel. Click on the like button, give me the thumbs up. Give me a like. I really appreciate it. It really helps out the channel grow and help more people, which is what I'm all about. But back to the living thing, there's really no shortage of anything you can find when it comes to any type of living you want. Last thing I want to talk about is when it comes to jobs. So when you're looking for a job, there's a lot of different opportunities in Ohio. I don't see any shortage of any opportunities anywhere. For goodness sakes, I saw literally a Burger King, McDonald's, and Taco Bell in the same corner the other day. One was hiring for $14 an hour, one was hiring for $15 an hour, and one was hiring for $16 an hour. And two of them actually even offered to pay you daily instead of getting a paycheck every week or every other week. So needless to say, those entry-level jobs are definitely available. There's many skilled trade jobs available. What we do not have as much here in Ohio is you don't have a ton of major corporations. So there's a decent amount of companies out here, there's no doubt. You got your Firestone here, you got Goodyear here, you got Diebold. So there is a lot of good big companies you can work for here. But if you're looking to go into more of like a really high-end corporate setting, I don't know if you would see that happen as much here. So it might not be as common as what you'd think here. Essentially, if you want to but I cover a lot of Northeast Ohio area. I really specialize in this area. Akron, Canton, like I said, where I specialize a lot, doesn't have the big corporations as much. There are a few here, which is awesome. I actually did a separate video you actually can click on that I'll show you about them. But if you want to move into like the higher level corporations, you'd want to be in Cleveland. It's roughly about an hour from the area that I'm in. I do a decent amount of business up there as well. Or the other option is Columbus or Cincinnati. Those are two very big metropolitan areas also for Ohio. Those are between 2 to 6 hours away from where I'm at. By the way, if you guys ever need, referral for those areas, I have connections with many great agents and teammates down there and stuff. So I'd be happy to refer you guys to anybody you need help with finding a house, selling a house, whatever. But like I said, there's corporations to work at, large ones, but they're not as common as you would like in New York City, Chicago, things like that. You won't find them as much here. You'll find a lot of decent sized companies and a lot of mom and pop type places, which are awesome. So you won't find any shortage of employment here, but maybe not that whole corporate aspect you're necessarily looking for. So it just depends on what you really want. All right, so with that all said, hopefully this educated you a little bit, told you some of the downsides to Ohio. Like I said, I didn't want to rag on everything. It gave you some realistic point of views, like what you can look forward to, not look forward to, stuff that may disappoint you or might not be interesting for you. Maybe it's just not for you in this area, which is awesome. I'd rather educate you and get you to know, make you understand more about what you're really getting involved with instead of actually trying to just sell you about everything about Ohio, because it's not all like, peaches and strawberries, or I don't know, is that really a term? Something like that. I don't know. You get the point though. But like I said before, do me a favor, subscribe to this video or subscribe to my channel, like it, leave me a comment, let me know your thoughts about anything. I really appreciate you guys helping me grow my channel here. If you need me to help you with anything, you have any questions about like any lenders, I have great connections to letters, title companies, home inspectors, anything you can imagine, plumbers, electricians. I have connections to pretty much everything you can imagine. If you have any questions about buying, selling, investing, just what to do in Ohio, I have lots of videos about what to do here, where to eat in Ohio. I got a video up about what to eat. Gosh, anything about Ohio, just reach out to me, hit me up, call me, text message me, Facebook, email me, whatever, LinkedIn, Twitter. I mean, I'm all over the place. You can Google me, you can find me. I love to help any way I can. But I'm going to cut this video off. I'm going to let you guys enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll see you on the next video.